Stop treating Sonic Forces like the previous generation dunked on Sonic 06. What I mean by that is, there's this very... Let me backtrack, actually. When Sonic 06 came out, it used the adventure gameplay for the third time. Unless you want to count Heroes, and then you could say and Shadow, then you'd say the fifth time. But like, that was the standard of how Sonic worked in 3D. But because that game was bad, a lot of people said the adventure formula never worked and was never good in 3D, and that we should move on and go back to the classics, just like how the classics used to be. Return to form. We don't need all this extra stuff. Multiple playable characters, get rid of them. Well, in complex story, stop that. We want simplicity, and we want the classic games back. Now, eventually, those people did get Sonic Mania, so they're a little satisfied right now. They finally got vindicated. But think about it. After that, Sega has refused to touch the adventure style. And the thing is, even though Sonic Forces was not as critically panned, not even close to as critically panned as 06, the general consensus for most normal people is meh. It's a very meh, middling game. I've sunk in way too many hours into it, but that's mostly just because I played it for the first time. I hated it. Well, I didn't hate it. I was just very sad. Then I played it for the second time because I accidentally reset the game when I was loading a mod, and then I couldn't get the save back because there's no multiple save files. And then I was planning on 100%ing the game just to say that I did, so I could say that I gave the game a complete chance. And then the game was refusing to end. It was my PC, not the game. It wasn't the game's fault. It was me. For some reason, my computer wasn't working. So then I played the game front to back for the third time, and then I finally, and it actually worked this time, and I beat it, and the game didn't crash. So then I 100%ed the game recently, pretty much. I just need to grind out some other stuff. But I've sunk in too many hours into this game, so I know the ins and outs of Sonic Forces pretty well, if I do say so myself. Played this game way too much. I hate it. But I've spent time with Sonic Forces, but it is middling. All right, I've spent a lot of time with 06. It's not the worst thing to ever touch this earth, but it's not good. There are some things I can enjoy about it, but it is not a good game. It's not a good game. But with me getting sidetracked, the main thing is that, you know, they refused to touch the adventure formula again, and they moved on to the boost formula, right? See, the thing is, my first Sonic game was Sonic Rush. My second Sonic game was Sonic Colors. And then I played the classics to a certain degree. I couldn't beat any of them, but I played them. And I had my opinion on them, and I liked them. I just figured they were too hard for my small brain. And Generations is my favorite game of all time. Like, it's my #1 favorite game of all time. It's great. Favorite Sonic game, favorite game of all time. And it's a boost game. So you could guess where my priorities lie with this franchise. I like the boost formula. Thing is, this whole resurgence with Sonic Forces is that Sonic Forces has proved something. Sonic Forces has, in some people's minds, has proved that the boost formula has played its course. Let's take it back to adventure. Let's take it back to adventure, boys. Let's take it back to adventure. You see what you're doing? You're doing the exact same thing that the last people did. We want consistency in this franchise, right? So why would you want them to change the gameplay style again? Again. Start it over with a new team who has no idea. You really want that? Again? Because they tried to switch up the gameplay style in Lost World, but nobody liked it. I liked the game, but a lot of people didn't. So of course they're afraid to change the gameplay style, but I mean, I'm not excusing Sonic Force's lackluster levels and controls and everything, but it was a pretty much new team who didn't develop Generations or Colors. The only person who was really a carryover was the director and people who did the music. So it's a new team trying out the old gameplay style, and they didn't deliver properly. But that doesn't mean that the boost formula has run its course. It doesn't mean that. That's like saying the adventure formula ran its course. Now, if the adventure formula returned, that would be cool. I would prefer that we still kept the boost formula to a certain degree in it. Like, have Sonic be the boost, Tails have his thing, and Knuckles have his thing, so they don't have the boost. So, just like how Sonic has to drop Dash and Mania, just create levels around that idea. And, reuse assets if it tends down to it, because I know the boost levels have a lot of track, and they're really annoying to build. But for me, that's what Sonic is. Just like how for a lot of people, Sonic Adventure 2 is what Sonic is. Or Sonic Heroes is what Sonic is. You see the thing? It's a cycle. It's gonna... If we don't get this fan base together, or at least trying to agree on consensus, the same things are gonna happen again. Yeah, it sounds like that everyone's like, yeah, an adventure remake, or yeah, bring back the adventure. We want this, we want that, we want that. Yeah, because you're the adults now. You guys are the adults. You're all in your 20s. Most of you are in your 20s. Some of you in your late teens, but a lot of you are in your 20s. Yeah. So now you are the voice of the community to a certain degree. While the classic fan base has started to become less and less of a prominent voice. They're still pretty prominent because they're the OGs, but they're starting to become less and less prominent, and also more and more complacent, more and more like, well, this is fine. To me, the level of cheese in Sonic Forces is the exact same level of cheese in Sonic Heroes. It's the same thing. And the thing is, let's even break it down to another secular level, like not even fan base, just games. Sonic Adventure, new formula, new tryout, boom. Okay, they improve on it in Sonic Adventure 2. They wild out for one game, then they make a bad spin-off, and then they come back to form, and it's not what everyone wanted. So now the whole format's gone. Then we got Unleashed. Then we got Unleashed, Colors, Generations. This one is it's 3 games that are in that beginning area, not 2 like the last time. But same thing happened. Lost World is Sonic Heroes. It's the Sonic game that's a little bit middling, that not a lot of people like. Some people like it, some people don't. Just there's some hardcore fans of Sonic Lost World out there. I'm not a hardcore fan, but I do like the game, and I do see its merits, and I think that people are a little too hard on it just because it's not very Sonic-y. But and then there's Sonic Boom, which is this cycle's equivalent of Shadow the Hedgehog. And then there is Sonic Forces, which is this generation's equivalent to Sonic 06. Do you really want to reset that badly? Because what you're going to do, they're going to create a whole new generation of Sonic fans that don't like you. Just think about it. people have a huge problem with the classic fan base and critics for getting really, really angry over Sonic 06 and ruining the game and saying that Sonic never worked in 3D, and all the classic fans saying that the adventure games were never good, and that we needed to go back to the 2D. You know how you're saying that the boost formula was never really that good, and that we should go back to the adventure games? You're doing the same thing. You're doing the same thing. And you really feel that it's gonna help anybody? Because all it's gonna do is make a whole new generation of Sonic fans hate you. And then the cycle starts again. In about everything will, if they, let's say they do change the gameplay style, and something else changes, like the stories get darker again, or something like that. Give it 5 years. There's gonna be some people coming out saying, "What, man? Forces wasn't really that bad. I actually kind of liked Forces. Forces was pretty good. Not gonna lie, it's one of my favorite Sonic games. Lost World. That was actually a pretty good. That was a pretty good thing. It was a pretty good thing. Because the same thing is happening now with people saying Sonic 06 is good. People saying that Sonic Heroes wasn't that bad. I mean, I like Sonic Heroes. I played it recently in my adult life, and I've actually enjoyed it. But and I think that game does get a little too much hate. But still, the point still stands. It's gonna happen again. And then there's gonna be people talking about, like, I want Sonic to go back to where he was in the 2010s. The people who grew up with the 2000s and love that version of Sonic, like the Sonic X era of Sonic, the Dark Jason Griffith era, the Ryan Drummond era, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what you call that whole era, because it's not just Dreamcast, Dark Age. There's a whole, I want a word to describe it all, but forget it. But they're they you assume that nobody likes the 2010s. You assume that, and that's what it feels like anyway, from someone who doesn't think this decade was all that bad. Like, oh no, Sonic Boom was atrocious and Sonic Forces is pretty but I don't think that means that, oh man, I lost faith in Sonic Team because they took 4 years to develop one game and it wasn't good. Quality over It's like I wanted quantity over quality, or whatever. It's like, and I understand the plight. It's like, yeah, it was a long time to wait for a game, and the game wasn't that good. But that doesn't mean the rest of the franchise is doomed. Are you kidding me? Come on, it's just one game. It's one game. Because Sonic Boom wasn't made by them, and Sonic Lost World is debatable. Okay, that's debatable if that's a bad game, because it is. Come on. All right, well, like, I will defend Sonic Lost World. That's the hill I'm dying on. But it's like Sonic Forces was just meh. You really think that the franchise is that in that dire straits because of one meh game? After they, in my opinion, made 4 bangers in a row: Unleashed, Black Knight, Colors, Generations. 5 if you count some of the spin-off games like All Stars Racing Transformed, All Stars Racing. It's like 6 games right there. They came out with bangers. And like, you think that Sonic Forces is the, oh man, I lost faith in Sonic Team. It's a new team. Cut them some slack. The team is smaller. Cut them some slack. I'm not saying that, like, yeah, we should say that, oh no, Sonic Forces is a good game. It's not a good game. It's not. I'm not excusing that. I'm not saying Sonic Forces is a good game. I'm saying that the game isn't the worst thing on the earth that needs to have the franchise go into reset. Maybe, yeah, there's some things that you could do with the story to make it a little better. I would prefer if they would hire Ian Flynn and get rid of the writers. But don't create this mentality that, yeah, this one game ruined everything and made everything else that this has been building up to not good. Because if you do that, you're just doing the same thing they did almost 15 years ago. And you're not really happy about how they treated your games. You know? It's like, we're all, it's like, because I've seen how the classic fan base reacts. Someone, Thwip on Twitter was saying, like, oh, you know what, for what it was, you know, Sonic the Black Knight was pretty entertaining, it was a pretty good game. And someone was like, we need to stop accepting mediocrity, alright? Sonic and the Black Knight was a mediocre game, and it wasn't good. And that's okay. That type of talk, that pissed me off, because I like Sonic and the Black Knight. It's like, oh, are you kidding me? Maybe you're wrong. And it's like, that's why we got so much infighting. I don't think we need another fourth section of the fan base. Yeah, I understand a lot of you don't like Roger and would prefer Ryan Drummond back, but let's be honest, they're not going to hire new voice actors for a bit, unless something happens to one of them. The only reason they hired new voice actors is because Dean Bristow died, and they had a new TV show on the air, so they wanted some brand consistency. So don't expect a new voice cast change. I don't want this fan base to have another section and another, not volatile, because it's just very, very like a new generational gap of upsetness. Because yeah, you guys, let's say if it goes back to the era that you like, you guys would be happy, the 2000s era, let's be honest. If it went back to the 2000s, you guys would be happy. You guys would feel good. And you guys would be like, this is a return to form. And this is what we wanted. The generation before you might not be down with that. So let's just hope, instead of telling Sonic Team to change and go back to the way things were, how about compromise? How about trying to tell Sonic Team to combine, not the way they did in Forces, because they tried doing that and they tried to please everybody and please nobody, which is dumb. They shouldn't do that. Classic games should stay in classic land because they got a team to make those games. So leave them to make those games. But maybe the tone should be a little bit, could be a bit of more of a balance, a little bit more of a balance. Not too jokey, not too thing. Like maybe we could have that. But like, don't take the gameplay away, because I'm sorry, I am too attached to the boost gameplay. I like it. I'm not saying the classics or the adventure games are bad, but that's my favorite era. And I think you guys are trying to take it away. So I just wanted to put that out there, man. Some of us like the boost games, guys. Some of us prefer them. Some of us grew up on them. Like you grew up on something. And you didn't like it when your thing that you grew up on was taken away. So why do that to someone else? Just hope that they get better. Not that they just start over.